So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, the distinguished speakers, the participants. On behalf of the UNESCO World Water Assessment Program, WWAP, and the Multi-stakeholder Coalition, with the support of the government of Italy, I would like to welcome you to this session dedicated to the Global Call for Action initiative to accelerate gender equality in water. My name is Lauren Burja. I am Senior Water and Gender Specialist at UNESCO WWAP. And before starting our session, allow me to encourage you to use the chat box to write your questions, comments, but please use the pathable chat, not the Zoom chat. And with no further ado, let me introduce Mr. Abou Amani, Director of the Division of Water Sciences at UNESCO, who will open this session. Dear Abou, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Laura. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making time to be with us today for this session on global multi-stakeholder action to accelerate gender equality in water. As you know, exactly 1 year ago, during the last World Water Week, the UNESCO World Water Assessment Program launched the Global Call for Action initiative to accelerate gender equality in the water domain together with the Multi-stakeholder Coalition. This initiative has been developed in response to the urgent need of a platform that encourages bold and concrete actions to reduce the structural inequalities in the water domain. Indeed, persistent gender inequalities hinder the accomplishment of the global commitment linked to the Agenda 2030, particularly related to SDG 5 and SDG 6. Just to give a figure, I know that we all know this figure, but I want to remind us really to highlight the critical situation. As it was already highlighted by World Water Development Report, around 200 million hours per day are spent by women and girls to go to fetch water. So imagine if we are able to provide water to all the women and girls, how these 200 million hours per day can be better used for sustainable development. Since its launch last year, the Multi-stakeholder Coalition has continuously grown and received strong engagement of high-level governmental authorities, other UN agencies, and international to regional organizations, universities and research institutes, as well as international, regional, and local NGOs have also shown commitment as key members of the coalition. This unique and wide-scale initiative has received important recognition from, among others, the UNESCO Inter-Governmental Council of IHP, and also the call was featured in the Asia and Pacific Parliamentarian Statement on the occasion of the second Asia International Water Week, and also it was featured recently as in the final declaration of the Dushanbe water process. I'm pleased to echo IHP's commitment through the resolution of its 24th ordinary session of the Council, which clearly highlighted the critical importance to mainstream gender within water management. And also to highlight all the effort that WWAP and the coalition are making to scale up the initiative. This support will be concretized in the IHP 9 phase. As you know, IHP has now a new phase, a strategic action plan approved by its member state. And within that phase of IHP, we will have a number of gender transformative actions to be included in scientific research, public awareness raising, regional capacity development, interagency and institutional dialogue to strengthen governance frameworks. Likewise, this call has also inspired many other stakeholders to step forward and implement solutions for the promotion of gender equality encompassing actions in the field of cooperation, education and training, policy reforms, gender equal funding, data collection, and more. We have learned about some of these actions in previous important meetings, including the 9th World Water Forum held in Dakar. Today, we will have the opportunity to meet new members of the coalition and learn about more good practices and actions towards gender equality in water. Dear colleagues, we have two very important upcoming milestones regarding the call for action roadmap. The first milestone is the UN Water Grand Water Summit, which, as you all know now, will be held in Paris at the UNESCO headquarters on 7 and 8 December. And I would like to take this opportunity to all inviting you to this very, very important summit. And also, as you know, next year, we'll have the UN 2023 Water Conference in New York. These events will serve as opportunity to showcasing the meaningful and urgently needed actions undertaken by WWAP and the coalition in the quest to deepen the status quo in favor of gender equality. There exists no quick fix to solve all the structural inequalities that are deeply rooted in our societies. Nevertheless, this call for action has enabled several key achievements that demonstrate the power of explicitly supporting gender equality and the empowerment of women, and highlights the power of working together as a multi-stakeholder coalition towards a common objective. UNESCO will keep supporting the multi-coalition to catalyze further actions with the goal of making gender equality the norm in the water domain. Only in this manner we will make meaningful advancements towards inclusive governance and management of our water resources. Only in this manner we will use the best of our societies to be prepared to respond to the multi-challenges we are facing in the water domain of today and also for tomorrow. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants, all the speakers, and also to congratulate WWAP for putting this session and also bringing all the colleagues and experts together. So I wish you very successful exchanges, and we are looking forward to the outcome of the session. Thank you. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you very much, Abou. Thank you for this inspiring introduction and message. And I am now pleased to present Ms. Michela Miletto, Director and Coordinator of UNESCO WWAP, who will present the advances on the call for action so far and its way forward. Michela, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura, and good afternoon and good morning to everybody, distinguished speakers, dear participants, and I can see a lot of friends here, and I'm very happy to see your presence. Today, I have the pleasure to present the progress so far achieved by the Call for Action initiative and its global multi-stakeholder coalition. As you may know or remember, the preparation of the Call for Action started in 2020 and culminated with its launch in 2021. This year, 2022, is dedicated instead to catalyzing and measuring actions on the ground. Let me please briefly remind how we started. In 2020, WWAP, together with almost 50 experts, undertook an analysis on the progress of gender equality in the water domain since the launch of the 1995 Beijing Declaration and Platform for Actions. The analysis showed progress to, the analysis the analysis revealed an alarming slow progress to achieve water and gender related goals established in international declaration and agenda. In particular, SDG 5 and 6 showed to be disappointingly off track. As a result, in 2021, a global multi-stakeholder coalition coordinated by UNESCO WWAP launched the Call for Action initiative to accelerate the achievement of gender equality in the water domain. An ad hoc position paper was prepared and reports the recommendation agreed upon by the coalition to indicate urgent and bold actions into 5 key areas that could break silos and pave the way for cross-sectoral cooperation. In the preparation of the UN 2023 Water Conference, WWAP and members of the coalition are working to turn our commitments into actions through a double strategies. First, expanding the Call for Action coalition, and second, catalyzing and measuring actions in the agreed 5 key areas, which are act upon principle of gender equal funding, narrow the policy practice gap, foster women leadership behind participation, counter unjust social norms and stereotypes, and fifth, prioritize collection of sex disaggregated water data. Today, we are counting on the support of about 150 members from more than 60 institutions, 14 member states, 3 regional organizations, financial institutions, UN agencies, non-governmental organizations, academia, UNESCO chairs, and individual specialists. The participation of government institutions represent 48% of the total. You can see on the graph, a huge number, which is critically important to influence water policies in their respective countries and regions. On the other hand, there is another number, the wide number of stakeholders involved from NGOs and regional organizations, 18 and 14%, that are key to make changes on the ground. More effort is needed instead to bring funding institutions and private sector on board. We have recently done a sample survey among the members of the coalition to monitor progress in implementing the recommended actions of the call. As you can see from the graphs, member states participated to the survey quite actively, 47% of respondents, with a good representation in particular from Latin America, Europe, and Africa. The survey revealed a steady progress in implementing actions in the 5 key areas recommended by the call, which we have reported in the y-axis, the vertical axis. The majority of respondents appear to be very active in activities aiming to foster women leadership, as well as increasing efforts for more inclusive water policies. On the other hand, actions to prioritize the collection of sex disaggregated water data was reported as the least frequent, is the last one that you have in the graph. The reported most frequent actions are related, as I said, to raising attention through advocacy and outreach, which counsel almost 40% of the reported actions. The challenge now is to grow on the other priorities, and this is the main take-home message of today. counting down to the Water Conference of New York and beyond, more efforts, more funds, more hands are needed for implementing concrete actions on the ground. Nevertheless, the variety and numbers of actions is impressive. In a few minutes, several members of the coalition will tell us about their ongoing activities. And to shine a light on the members who could not share their experience with us today, here in this slide, you see some examples of reported activities in the call's priority areas. Let's have a few seconds so they can read it. Okay, next, please. Before closing, I would like to recall the call for action roadmap and its milestones towards the end of the 2030 agenda. As remarked by my colleague Abou Amani, there are excellent opportunities for disseminating this initiative in the near future, such as the UNESCO Groundwater Summit in Paris in December, and of course the UN 2023 Water Conference in New York for the midterm review of the International Water Decade in March next year. In such opportunities, we will coordinate with the members of the coalitions to showcase their advances, their projects, and to take advantage of this historic opportunity for joining forces and starting new cooperation and partnership. Even though the coalition is only 1 year old, is a baby, it has already received important recognitions. The resolution of the UNESCO IHP Inter-Governmental Council, the mention in the Parliamentarian Statement of the Second Asia International Water Week, the mention in the final declaration of Dushanbe's Second Water Conference, and in the final report of the African Regional Consultation, and finally, its presentation during the UN high-level political forum in New York last July. This achievement illustrates the growing awareness that gender integration in the water domain is receiving. So congratulations to all the members of the coalitions for the great work. From UNESCO WWAP side, we commit to continue advancing on 3 main pillars. First, amplify the call for action by continuing the leadership of the Multi-stakeholder Coalition to expand it globally. Advocate through a massive communication campaign in multiple languages, as we already doing, and prioritize the collection of sex disaggregated water data through projects on the ground and trainings. The call for action shall continue to be sustainable in the future and needs financial support. It can be done, for example, by supporting the creation of a community for gender equality and water online platform, and guarantee technical and coordination assistance to disseminate knowledge of the members of the coalition, or also supporting the implementation of regional and national capacity development activity that WWAP specifically designs. Finally, I would like to thank the members of the coalition for their activities and invite all those who haven't done it yet to join, promote, and get involved in the call for action. It really represents an invaluable opportunity to get gender equality back on track within the 2030 deadline, and we can only get it together. To join the coalition, you can send an expression of interest to the dedicated email address, water and gender call for action @unesco.org. And for more information, you can go to the WWAP website as shown in the slide. And with this, I close my presentation and I thank you very much for your attention. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you very much, Michela. And now we will enter in the second part of this session that will be dedicated to discuss some of the key themes on gender and water through recent partnership and regional actions that are being carried out on the ground. So we will start with Mr. Atika Tanko, Director of Program from AMCO, who will address how a gender and youth inclusion perspective can impact water policy. Please, Mr. Tanko, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And then having listened to the discussions so far, I think it's really important that as AMCO, we highlight some of the challenges and the progress that we have made insofar as gender and sanitation and water for that matter is concerned. Around the 2011-2012, AMCO was actually very much alarmed on the numbers of women and children and the hours that was being spent in the collection of water and sanitation, water and for that matter, accessing sanitation across the continent. So in 2011, we developed the gender strategy and then topped it up with the gender and youth strategy in 2013. This is very important because I want to underpin that these particular alarming numbers inform the development of our AMCO strategy 2018-2013 on securing water and safe managed sanitation for the continent. So the consideration of youth, the consideration of gender in water and sanitation services delivery cannot be overemphasized. And since then, AMCO itself within our secretariat has made sure that we have gender and youth focal persons within the secretariat to lead the implementation of these various strategies across. And of course, supporting member states with focal persons who are in charge of gender, as well as ensuring that gender consideration and youth are mainstream across the capacity building initiatives that we deliver across. As I speak to you now, last year, we reviewed these strategies and made it gender and youth and inclusion strategy. This is very important because without the consideration of gender and youth across board, we will not be able to achieve the Africa Water Vision as well as the Africa Union Agenda 2063. And I wanted to underscore a very important point here. When we are talking of, gender, some people will just think that it's a woman issue, but this concerns all of us. This concerns all of us because without the strongest and effective participation and for that active participation of men in the water and sanitation sector and for that matter across all the development divide, we will not be able to achieve all those continental and then global goals that we have set for ourselves, especially on sanitation. But what are we doing in this new gender and inclusion strategy? We are ensuring that we develop the needed capacity, with member states and as well as among partners to be able to ensure that in every strategy, in every policy that they are developing, gender and youth consideration should be part and parcel of that. Because the numbers are alarming, as already have been underscored by my previous presenters here. And more importantly, too, currently we are having some groundbreaking initiative, that is the Pan-Africa Groundwater Initiative, as well as the Africa Sanitation Policy Guidelines. All these guidelines are considering intricately gender and youth considerations in their implementation. And we encourage all member states of the African Union to ensure that in every strategy that they are developing, be it for water, or be it for hygiene, or be it for safely managed sanitation, gender has to be considered. Why should we consider this? We all know that.
You need to wrap up, please.
Okay. I think that was my last point. I was emphasizing why do we need to consider this? Because the dividends is so huge. The numbers of youth are overwhelming, and their mainstreaming into the water and sanitation sector will also create other job opportunities and improve their skills to become the actual future leaders that we want to lead. Thank you on this.
Thank you very much. We appreciate these inputs, and I'm now glad to call Mr. Yong Wang Kim, Planning Director of the Asia Water Council, who will refer to the role of gender equality and inclusion to ensure water security. Mr. Kim, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate allow me this chance to introduce AWC, Asia World Council's activities regarding gender equality and inclusion. I need to share my slide. I sent it to who can, yes, next please. Let me start with a brief introduction. Next please. Yes, I'd like to introduce AWC briefly. AWC is established to raise Asia water issues. As you know, Asia is very vulnerable to water disasters and flood and other climate changes effects. So it was established in 2016, and it's aimed to disseminate Asia water issues and raise global awareness in this matter. So we have more than 150 members from 27 countries. It's not only from Asia, it's all over the world. And Korea Water Resources Corporation has a presidency for this platform. Next slide, please. So this is the history of AWC. Since its establishment, AWC hosted first Asia International Water Week, and this year we had second Asia International Water Week in Indonesia, Labuan Bajo. The theme was sustainable, clean, and sufficient water for all. We have a three main pillar program. There is Asia Toward the Statement. It is a declaration including key issues like smart water management and gender equality and capacity building. And we had the next is Asia water issues. There is thematic sessions based on our this year's slogan. And then we also have a water project business forum. As Asia Water Council would like to solve and provide a practical solution to water issues, we invited the stakeholders like government officials and multi-developer bankers and private sectors. So in these three main programs, I'd like to emphasize the Asia Toward the Statement. Next slide, please. Yes, we prepared this statement more than 6 or 1 year, and then during in the process of preparation, we discussed and contact many our stakeholders, especially at the preamble. We put the UNESCO's call for action, gender equality, to our statement, and we also the statement consists of implementation commitment. So we also included the gender equality UNESCO cooperation to our commitment. And then our statements have 3 kinds of statement. There is a ministerial level and parliamentary level and water expert level. So we try to disseminate and expand, distribute the UNESCO corporate action for gender equality to our members, and this statement was delivered to 9th World War Forum as well. Next, please. So during against the backdrop of our Second World War, we newly launched the Asia Young Professionals. It was it was evenly consisted from genders. And then we have 3 presidents from men and women equally. And among our YP members, there is Nayan and You Inspire. They are focusing on distributing the gender equality in water sectors and domains. Next, please. Yes. Thank you. That is what we have been doing for the dissemination of call for actions from in UNESCO. Yes. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim, and thank you for all this information that you have shared. And I will now give the floor to Ms. Vivian Castro Ulbricht, Senior Urban Development Specialist from the Asian Development Bank, who will address a key topic, the importance of funding capacity development for strengthening WASH institutions. Please, Vivian, you have the floor. You are muted, Vivian. That doesn't seem so.
It seems now.
We cannot hear you.
It seems you're now okay, Vivian. Go ahead.
No. I'm not sure if from Portable they can give us some help. Because she doesn't seem to be muted. Maybe we can go to our next speaker while you try to solve the sound problem. Okay, so now I will present Stella Craig. She's the country director from the Forum of Federation of Jordan. So we are very pleased to have you today. So Tala, you have the floor.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you for the UNESCO for giving me the opportunity to present the project of Forum of Federation. May you give me to share the screen or to show the presentation slides, if you please? Yeah, that is really great. First, the project that we are going to present today, it's about women in leadership roles, how supporting leadership is helping new generations of women in decision-making, whether at a national or at a local level. Can I have the second slide, please? So to start with, the project Empowering Women for Leadership Role, it's a project funded by the Global Affairs Canada and implemented by the international nonprofit organization Forum of Federation in 3 countries. One of them is Jordan. So it's a regional project, and this project aims at building the capacity of women who are decision makers, leaders, in addition to young women who are planning to become leaders one day, and bring the awareness on the importance of women empowerment. Before talking about the project, allow me just to talk about the context, the external environment that assisted us in implementing this project. So Jordan, as you know, it's a country in the MENA region, and women in Jordan, just like women worldwide, according to the UN, are vulnerable to climate change, and they are more vulnerable than men. In particular, because of the social, economic, and cultural factors that limit their coping capacity. And this emphasizes the need for gender-sensitive responses to climate change, which is a factor for water stress, in particular in a country like Jordan that really faces challenges in terms of water scarcity. Nevertheless, according to activists, they say that people in Jordan believe that, you know, we are safe because there are no big threats like hurricanes or volcanoes. But nevertheless, you know, water stress is alarming. It's gradual, progressing. Climate change is also progressing, and people have to be further aware of the situation. In addition, that women in Jordan, just like many other women worldwide, they spend more time as caregivers than men. So this, for example, women, they spend like 270, 400 minutes a day in household activities, while men only spend 80 minutes. So they have less time to build their capacity and to have a role in decision making in terms of water stress and in climate change adaptation. And to receive that proper education and capacity. Furthermore, Jordan, because of water scarcity, we, like many urban cities, that we only receive water once a day. So women really, and even less in rural areas, and women are in charge of securing water for domestic and household tasks. And this is an additional burden on them. And also when floods happen, in particular in urban areas or in the desert, the woman suffers the most from displacement, in particular taking care of their kids during this displacement due to flood happening in the country. Nevertheless, I have to say that Jordan made advancement in terms of women's rights. So in 2022, we had the amendment of the constitution to clearly indicate the importance of women's rights and obligations in the constitution. We have amendment in the political party law and in the election law to have more women as national legislators and more women in political parties, to have more political decision-making in the country. The elections, the local elections occurred in 2022, including women in the governorate and local councils in Jordan. And in Jordan, we have 12 governorates and hundreds of municipalities. And also there was the launching of what's known as gender equality and climate change in Jordan, an analysis that was launched by the UNDP and the Ministry of Environment in Jordan. So all this, let's say, external environment assisted us in kicking off activities in terms of empowering women, in terms of water stress, adaptation, and in a pilot project. So may I have the second slide, if you please? Oh, yeah, this is just part of what yes. So the project that we have launched was to increase the capacity of women, members of municipal and governorate councils, to participate in environmental decision making. And as you know, during the COVID-19 challenges and limitations, so we thought of starting these activities in the outdoor. So we conducted capacity building training in the forest, within forests in Jordan and in open spaces. We invited those women, the council members. We gave them, capacity in topics like, the environmental law, environmental challenges, how we collect data, how to do environmental impact assessment, how to plan, how to include green growth in planning, how to have more gender responsive water policies and projects. In addition, it was very important to invite these women into study visits to see projects that are ongoing, like in rainwater harvesting, in fish farming, how to use solar panels and water pumping for irrigation. Take them to forests, the limited forests we have in the country, to see the challenges and that forests face in terms of fire and theft and water shortage, so that these women, when they start having a role in decision making in local planning, they have seen all these issues beforehand. We assisted them. Sorry, in conducting town hall meetings. We also we conducted research, and we noticed that women really are well informed, but at the same time they are facing challenges, including political violence, when they want to say their ideas in front of the councils. And just to wrap up, we were able to do a media campaign to show the role of women, in particular in water stress, by showing a lot of women that are working in technical issues, in in wastewater and saving water. So I just want to say thank you for giving me the time. Just the final slide, I would like to show a lady who was one of the members. Sorry. Yeah, so can we skip to the last because I have little time, sorry. So a lady in the council member, she was saying, yes, women have a role, even in a local council in decision-making for water stress adaptation and mitigation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Tala. And we have a nice number of speakers, so we are conscious of time.
Okay.
So now we will see if Vivian can share her presentation.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Excellent. Yes.
Okay.
So we will share your presentation on our site.
Great.
So
and thanks for bearing with me. I'll just wait for the slide to pop up. Good. So good day, everybody. I'm so pleased to be presenting with such an excellent group of professionals. My name is Vivian. I work in the Pacific region of the Asian Development Bank, and I will talk today about the importance of providing financial resources for capacity development in the water supply and sanitation sector from the IFI perspective. So I doubt anybody here joining today with us would argue that capacity development is important or that it requires funding. But I just want to stress one today that it's really critical to fund capacity development. And two, we cannot underestimate the cost. So I'll share a little bit on our approach and experience and key considerations when designing such programs. Next slide. So let me just start quickly with the definition of capacity development. So what we're talking about is investing in people, institutions, and enabling environment that together enable the achievement of objectives. So let me just break this down. What does investing in people look like? So it could be upgrading individuals' general specific skills, knowledge, performance through a wide variety of mechanisms, training, experiences, motivation, incentives. And I want to challenge us to think a little bit outside the box. So in a project in Rajasthan, India that I've been working on with ADB in the past, we designed an internship program for female university students to get exposure in the state's premier infrastructure development agency. So the infrastructure development agency we're working with identified promising female university students who could come for the summer or for a few weeks during the year. And the objective was to prepare women for future technical roles and get them interested in contributing to the WASH sector. So this was an example of not only training existing staff, but also thinking ahead to the agency's potential future workforce, and not only the current workforce. And of course, looking at things like inclusivity and equity, et cetera. So what does investing in institutions look like? Can be improving organizational performance through strategies, plans, rules, regulations, leadership, and others. It also means ensuring that institutions have gender strategies. So there's a wide breadth of possibilities when looking at that dimension. And then investing in the enabling environment. So improving policy framework to address economic, political, environmental, and social factors, and garnering political will and support for reforms. So that's a lot. And the word together here in the definition is deliberate. So, we really try from ADB perspective to look at all three of these to lead to more transformative impacts. And if all three are addressed well, it also requires substantial resourcing and efforts. Next slide. So I don't have time here to go into the detail of this framework on the screen, which is a concept that evolved in Japan. But why I included it is I want to just make the point that those of us working in infrastructure development sector, we have to ensure that several different dimensions are addressed in our projects and programs. So for when we develop infrastructure projects, we're expected to have very integrated approaches that look at how to maximize resilience, social impact, inclusivity, governance, and others. So our project approaches are now expected to be integrated, but are our capacity development programs as integrated as they can be to support this? So I think this framework is useful for those of us designing capacity development programs to assess how we can help ensure that the investments in infrastructure can deliver on all those dimensions and sustain the improvements, because capacity is so essential. Next slide. So in closing, I know that a lot of what I said today is more of a reminder probably for the group here, with seasoned professionals, but I do believe they're important reminders, and I want to leave you just with 4 thoughts. So first, across the 3 levels that I presented, the people, institutions, and enabling environment, we need to think pretty broadly and look at hard and soft areas. Hard are tangible and visible, things like organizational structures or policies. And then we also have to think about soft side, what's intangible and invisible, like leadership, behaviors, accountability. And we can also group capacities into technical and functional. Functional are things like planning, budgeting, communications, etc. Second, we need to identify the best partners and mechanisms for capacity development. We need a mix of approaches as the bar is high to deliver on integrated infrastructure programs. So I do believe we're likely to need traditional consultants for certain things, but there's other ways too, like peer-to-peer learning. This is a very strong tool. ADB has a longstanding water operators partnership program that partners utilities for focused learning programs. And this can be a very effective way to transfer skills and motivate staff. NGOs can also be important partners, for example, for training utilities on WASH programming and community outreach. So I just urge us all to try different approaches and look for non-traditional training partners as well. Third, we need to know what success looks like and have a common vision. So for longer term programs, what we've been trying to do is design many milestones so we can evaluate if we're making traction. And this also helps us have a good story of change to tell along the way, which can help us attract more funding for the next phase of capacity building, since it's never over, really. And we can be showing results and showing demonstrated commitment by the recipients of support. So this storytelling element is quite important. And my final point is that capacity development requires long-term commitment and resourcing. It does cost money, and patience and endurance are also a must. It's a long race. And we need to be prepared and ideally have a longer term plan so we can avoid ad hoc efforts. And having that plan can also help us secure a good amount of resources and also convince the organizations we're working with to allocate their own resources for investing in staff, for example, and not completely depend on external partners for capacity development. To me, that would be a good indicator of success, to have organizations in our sector see the business value and incrementally invest more in capacity development themselves. So I just tried to give here an overview of the challenges we're facing, the breadth we need to think about, which does require significant resources. So let's collectively keep advocating for more resources. We're doing that from ADB side for capacity development for WASH sector. I think Lawrence in the chat box was just going to share a link to a Pacific WASH webinar series that we're delivering with the Pacific Wastewater Association on various WASH topics. Very dynamic. I urge you to take a look, and I'll stop here. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vivian, for all this very, very useful information. And I thank all the speakers of this part of the session. And I'm pleased now to pass the floor to Ms. Oriana Romano from OECD. She's head of the unit at the Water Governance and Circular Economy Cities, Urban Policies and Sustainable Development Division. Oriana will moderate the next leg of the session. And now, Oriana, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Laura. I'm very pleased to be here with you and to moderate this next part of this amazing event. The OECD Water Governance Program, which I represent today, upload, of course, to the Global Coalition. We heard very interesting examples so far. We are also working on the theme of women in water decision making. So there are many synergies to make indeed. And we are continuing in this session to learn from examples at the regional level and from members of the Multi-stakeholder Coalition so that we can understand how to implement these actions on the ground. Since we're running late, I will play a little bit the bad guy here with the timing. I will kindly ask our next speakers to stick with the 5 minutes allocated time. And let's start with Ms. Phan Thi Thu Huong from the Oxfam Vietnam Country Office. Ms. Huong, the floor is yours. 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. Can you put my slide up, please?
Yes. There you go.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. Today I'm sharing the practice of the Mekong water governance programs. That's the regional water governance programs of Oxfam. In this, I will share the practice of the programs about gender equalities and women leadership. Next slide, please. The women leadership also applied in the water program. We apply the same framework as for gender analysis framework as in Rao Kelleher's, which have a comprehensive 4 areas: the structures, the agencies, the norm, and the access, which are in line and also complement also for the 5 areas which have addressed in the report of accelerating gender equality in the water domains as UNICEF provide as last year. Next slide, please. And the water governance programs of Oxfam cover proudly to cover the 4 quadrants of all areas. The most significant practices in all areas that, like in access, we encourage CSO, private sectors, and policymakers to use genders and social analysis impact tools, which not only like increase the disaggregate data, but also to find the root cause of all the the gender equalities for the suitable interventions, and also it gives the ownership for the women leaders in the communities. The tool is such as gender impact assessment, feminist participatory action research, or gender action learning system that is implemented in all 4 lower Mekong areas in Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Myanmar. And in the structures areas, we also work toward the changes of policies, the institutions towards the gender transformatives. For example, we work with the government bodies such as in Cambodia, we work with Ministry of Environment to develop the gender mainstream strategic plan for the next 5 years of the countries. We work with the Ministries of Natural Resources in Laos to develop the trainings for the gender technical groups to build their capacity in gender mainstreaming in water governance and resources management. We also, I'm happy that the ADB represented here. We also work with ADB Bank in Vietnam and in Cambodia to comment and contribute to their gender equality strategies process. We work with the government body of the transboundary water, such as Mekong River Commissions, to contribute and complement for gender action plans. And as the speaker before, like we want to invest in the pupils itself, the agencies of the women is very important. We try to provide different methods and approach to deliver the trainings and provide tools to boost the confidence, the skills of the people, of the women in the localities, to help them to have enough knowledge and ability to raise their voice, such as like we provide the guiding trainings for youth networks and river defenders. We teach the youth network in river journalist network in Asia how to write the articles or the products which through the gender lens. we provide the advocacy skill for indigenous women and youth in Asia's network, women fishery network in the 5 countries. At the same time, we also boosting the collective actions and also the peer-to-peer support by connecting these women network together to establish the community network or the regional network in all 5 countries. Another thing that we also try to fight the norms which are harmful for women and in the communities, in the families, and in the women themselves, which are enabled to support the local women leaders to participate and lead and be leaders in many events and trainings and also in regional or international level, such as they can be the panelists.
To conclude, please.
Yes, and they also can in international events, and also we amplify the women leading voices through forum and media to help them to express their voice, such as like women voice programs or help the to help the women activists to even sue the government in Thailand to for the harmful impact of the dam projects, such as the Sayaburi Dam or the Pak dams. And next slide, please. With this practice, we have the 5 main messages, which are very important during
the concluding words, please, in 1-2 seconds, because we have several speakers. A little time.
Okay, so you can see on the screen, expect the transformations is the process of change. So we need to capture that process for the proper measures. And leader can be burdened for the women until if we have them fully exercise the rights. So be careful when we are pushing them to be leaderships. And we should see the intersectionality lens in the women when we do the activity, because they need to integrate with ethnic, class, age, or abilities. And last, women is hidden in the water governance discourse, because this water governance is the technical which increasing privilege, productive, social and gender issue normally be hidden. Last is the men also experience the gender issues as others. So men and other ethnic minority group, LGBTs, the youth must be part of the solution for gender equality in the water governance. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. And sorry for being strict on the time, but it's to be inclusive and give the floor to everybody. So it's important. Your messages about building capacities, but also looking at the challenges and make sure that this is an inclusive approach. So women, but also other, let's say, categories. So looking to the people-centered approach. Very, very interesting. Feel free to share in the chat any link you may deem useful for people who are attending this event. And now we have a video message from Miss Esther Martinez Baena. She is responsible of the international cooperation at Conagua, Mexico. So I guess we can start the video, please.
Hola, buen día. Me complace extender un atento saludo a Michela Miletto, directora y coordinadora del Programa Mundial de la UNESCO de Evaluación de Recursos Hídricos, a Abou Amani, director de Ciencias Naturales de la UNESCO, a las y los representantes de las organizaciones que nos acompañan y con quienes tengo el placer de compartir tan importante espacio. Me siento emocionada de saludarles desde la Comisión Nacional del Agua en México y extenderles un saludo de nuestro director Germán Arturo Martínez Santoyo, quien me ha encomendado agradecer la oportunidad de participar en el marco de un evento tan relevante para nuestra comunidad, la Semana Mundial del Agua. Hace un año justamente que México se sumó al llamado a la acción para acelerar el logro de la igualdad de género en el ámbito del agua. Y qué mejor ocasión que esta para revisar el progreso realizado de cada uno de los socios involucrados en esta iniciativa. En nuestro país, de acuerdo a datos del Instituto Nacional de Estadística y Geografía, INEGI, históricamente la población mexicana ha estado compuesta por más mujeres que hombres. En 2020 representábamos un 51%. Precisamente las mujeres y niñas, quienes además de ser líderes en la administración del agua, sobre todo en comunidades rurales y marginadas, son las más afectadas por la falta de acceso al recurso. Con base en cifras del año 2019, dato proporcionado por InMujeres, las mujeres destinan 30.8 horas cada semana a las labores de hogar no remuneradas, entre ellas el acarreo de agua casi 3 veces más que los hombres. Las mujeres juegan un papel fundamental en la producción de alimentos, especialmente a través de agricultura de subsistencia. Por ello, el compromiso de visibilizarlas y empoderarlas como agentes de cambio es enorme. A continuación, me permito compartirles algunas de nuestras experiencias y acciones. Desde el año 2020 se incorporó la perspectiva de género en la normatividad bajo la que opera uno de los programas principales en Conagua, el programa de agua potable, drenaje y saneamiento ProAgua. Con ello, reconocemos el importante vínculo entre los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible sobre género y agua. Incluimos esta perspectiva con el propósito de disminuir las brechas de desigualdad, oportunidades, acceso, control y uso de los recursos, bienes y servicios que presta el agua, a fin de garantizar bienestar y desarrollo. En el ámbito rural, como institución, hemos reconocido el importante rol de las mujeres en la gestión, el cuidado y el abastecimiento del agua, impulsando su participación en comités de Contraloría Social y en órganos de administración de los comités que dan servicio de agua potable, drenaje y saneamiento en comunidades vulnerables y marginadas. Esto mediante acciones afirmativas, como lo es la asignación de un 10% más de recursos federales a aquellos comités en los que la participación de las mujeres sea mayor del 50%. Tan solo por darles un dato, en el año 2021 se contabilizaron 337 organizaciones comunitarias, de las cuales el 43% fueron mujeres. México cuenta con una importante diversidad cultural, por lo que ha sido necesario adaptar mecanismos para la creciente y activa participación de las mujeres en la toma de decisiones relacionadas con el agua. Ahora bien, es importante mencionarles que respecto al porcentaje de personas en puestos directivos en la administración pública en México, en 2020 las mujeres ocuparon 40.35%. En la Conagua, el organigrama institucional se ha ido equilibrando mediante el incremento de mujeres en cargos directivos y de toma de decisiones. En el año 2021, Conagua ya registraba aproximadamente un 40% de mujeres en su plantilla laboral, y hago hincapié que por primera vez la coordinación de nuestro Servicio Meteorológico Nacional está a cargo de una mujer. A lo anterior se suman las acciones del Estado mexicano para cumplir con los tratados internacionales en materia de derechos humanos, así como de igualdad y no discriminación. Otra acción importante que deseo compartir con ustedes es que la Conagua obtuvo la certificación en la norma mexicana sobre igualdad laboral y no discriminación, logrando la recertificación en el año 2020. En el año 2024, la institución se someterá nuevamente a esta evaluación. Como ya lo hemos observado, hemos avanzado, pero aún el reto es mayúsculo, por lo que la perspectiva de género en el sector agua debe ser una prioridad en nuestras agendas. Falta mucho por hacer en áreas como el fortalecimiento de canales de participación, en la generación de más y mejores datos desagregados por sexo y sobre todo en la sensibilización del sector hídrico ante la necesidad de incluir equitativamente a las mujeres. Por lo que participar en este tipo de espacios nos brinda la oportunidad de escuchar y aprender y, ¿por qué no?, de acoger aquellas experiencias y replicar acciones que abonen hacia un presente y futuro que reafirme el principio rector establecido por nuestra administración actual. No dejar a nadie atrás, no dejar a nadie fuera. y su servidora lo mejoraría diciendo, no dejar a ninguna mujer atrás, no dejar a ninguna mujer fuera. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez. It's great to hear about the gender perspective. Thank you very much for to the great team of CONAWA. Now we have to accelerate a little bit because basically this session will be automatically closed at 4:50, if I'm not wrong. So I would kindly ask the next speakers really to share the key messages in 3-4 minutes. I will now present the next speakers. Anybody working on gender and water actually knows her already, so no need to big introduction. But I'm talking about Ms. Lesha Wickmer, steering committee member of Women for Water Partnership. So Lesha, the floor is yours. So, you know, you don't have lots of time, but I know you will use it wisely. Go ahead, please.
That is okay, Oriana. Go to the next slide, please. So we did research. And why did we do research? Because a lot of our donors, a lot of our supporters are saying, yes, socially, politically, we think it's very important to have women involved, but can you prove it, that it actually works? So with that question in mind, we set out to research the 3 main questions that are now on your screen. So let's say the most important one, if you really achieve having more women involved in every level, what is the impact? Does it actually change the playing field? Go to the next one. So what we found is that there are 3 different approaches to this. One is involving women. So yeah, they're invited to be there. They play a role in the implementation, but not necessarily in this decision-making process. The second type is projects that are designed, implemented, and controlled by women. And women have taken part in all phases of the decision-making process. But it is women, let's say women only. The third one is a systematic inclusion of women, meaning that the players deliberately and systematically change the way they organize things, the way they involve people, and actually make a change in the system. Next one. So this is a lot of ideas which you can all read in the report. But what it basically says is that you can't do this on a one-off. So one project that is doing something nice is not going to change the world. And if you don't really act on it, and you only have a policy but not a plan, then you're not going to go very far. Take time. The slides will be available. The report is available, so you don't have to rush yourself. But it's a lot of really important do's there. Go to the don'ts, the next one. Don't ignore. Because they might not have a diploma, because they might be seeing to you as the mother or the housewife, that doesn't mean that they're not knowing what they're talking about. Do not accept that technically something might be really interesting, but it might not work. Simply because in the social and cultural context, people don't know how to implement it. and they don't get, the women especially don't get involved. And then don't underestimate the power of stereotypes. There's loads and loads of stuff that people think it is the way they think, but it might be totally different, giving half a chance. So looking at community stereotypes and norms, if you ignore them, it might just turn the best technology into a disaster, especially when it comes to maintenance and continuing. But if you do from day one, you actually will make a really good investment. Next, please. So our main lessons from the research, and the link is at the end, so you can read the whole report. But one is analyze really the situation on the ground before you start. So any bright idea, any well-meant idea, first has to be checked against the actual situation. Make sure that the objective is clear, and make sure, and this is something I heard a lot of really great projects passing by in the last hour, that your top people are committed and stay committed, and actually pressure the level below them, because they are the implementers.
Lesha, one concluding word.
Yes. So probably I would go to my next slide and say, please read our report. The link is there. If you want to chat with us about the results and the recommendations, please do so. I think most of you know where to find me and us and my colleagues. And I think this is very important also for our collective aims to get gender equality more traction, because if we can prove that it works, which we can, then we'll get more support.
Well, thank you very much, Lesha, with the do's and don'ts and main lessons. You already provided us with a recipe for success, and of course for more insights and specific data examples and much more. We invite, of course, to read the report, and feel free to share the link also in the chat. And now, last but not least, I would like to, before the concluding remarks, I would like to give the floor to Ellie Park. Ellie is a program specialist of the UNESCO International Center for Water Security and Sustainable Management. And she would like to share with us the water and gender equality context. Ms. Ellie Park, please keep your presentation under 3 minutes so that we can conclude the session with concluding remarks from UNESCO and colleagues. And many thanks, and sorry for cutting your presentation.
No worries, that's okay. Thank you first all for giving me this floor. And could you please go to the next slide, please? Yes, I'm Ellie Park from the IWSSM. As the moderator introduced, our center is the category 2 center under the IHP, and also the member of the Multi-stakeholder Coalition for the water and the gender equality. And actually, since 2020, we've done a lot of things to disseminate the agenda on water and gender equality, and to contribute to the raising public awareness in the international society. But I won't go every detail. So could you please go to the next slide, please? Okay, so now we, IWSSM and WWAP, are working on another way to collect actual voices and the best practices from the field. So this is an ongoing event and water and gender equality contest for youth engagement in the Asia and the Pacific region, and is specifically targeting for the young professionals and the international students in the water sector. Who will be leaders to contribute to the paradigm shift in terms of gender mainstreaming in this region after all. So anyone under the age of 35 can join the contest with a short video or a proposal paper to make an infographic to promote the agenda. And also we are planning to invite the top 2 winners to the side event at the UN Water Summit on the groundwater by online participation, and give a special opportunity to showcase their outcomes. Next, please. So I think this is a very unique opportunity to hear what young professionals and students think about gender equality in the water sector, and we are expecting that it will contribute to the promotion and the dissemination of gender equality in the water sector at the regional, national, and even community levels. So as you can see, now we are collecting actual best practices and many fresh ideas from the field. For the last, I'd like to ask you to encourage your partners or colleagues to join this contest. And as the Mr. Lawrence put the link in the chat box, you can get access to more information via our official website or WWAP Twitter account and the UNESCO Jakarta office Facebook. So we are so looking forward to working and collaborating with you to promote the cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ellen, for keeping under the 3 minutes. This is an excellent initiative. We invite especially young professionals to contribute. And now, Laura, the floor is yours for the concluding remarks. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you very much to all. And the concluding remarks will be done by Ms. Harumi Fuentes Furuya, Human Rights and Economic and Social Issues section from the UN Human Rights Office. And before concluding, I want to thank you all. And citing one of our founder members, Mariette, I think it's very important to say that the time is now, and we need to continue talking, but also act now. So now, Ms. Harumi, the floor is yours for concluding the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you and to all the speakers. And I agree that the time is now. Because if we as a global community are to rebound from the pandemic and to get back on track with the SDGs, then it really is crucial to accelerate all measures to overcome one of our largest obstacles, which is gender inequality. And today, our partners have shared commitments, results, and really promising practices. We heard how the WWAP and the call for action keeps growing and how it includes a really varied array of partners. And all the different sectors of society that were represented today in the panelists join efforts and bring crucial knowledge that combined together can do more and do better. We heard that data is still a crucial priority. And we really need to learn from the Millennium Development Goals when all the inequalities were masked by averages. So OHCHR has developed the Human Rights Indicators Framework. UNESCO WWAP has developed the toolkit to collect sex-segregated water data. The UN Statistics Division has a minimum set of gender-sensitive indicators for country-level data. And this is really crucial because from a human rights-based perspective, we need to identify where the inequalities lie and where the discrimination is. On funding, we heard about the role that international financial institutions can play as partners, not only through supporting international assistance through resources, but also through technical resources and transfer of skills like peer-to-peer learning. We heard some country examples about laws that are in place to improve and promote gender equality, such as affirmative action in elections laws, specific gender perspective in WASH policies, active participation of indigenous women and women at leadership levels. But we also heard that we need to narrow the gap between the law and the practice. We heard about the participation of women in the water sector that has meant different approaches to different people. And what we really mean is the meaningful, active, and free participation, and addressing all the barriers to the participation of women in marginalized situations. So considering gender from the beginning can really reduce the risk of us furthering any more discrimination against women and leaving them further behind. As promising practices, we heard that the capacity building and training for women in positions of authority, preparing them for their role in decision-making and empowering them to influence decisions, to voice women's needs, and to make informed choices about the environment. One key message was that gender equality concerns all people. And I think that this is what this call for action is about. It's about boosting partnerships to increase participation and inclusion and to accelerate progress. And one point that was reiterated a few times that is concerning is that women continue to be at risk for voicing their views or for taking a leadership role, which reminds us that any approach to overcoming gender inequalities in respect of the rights to water and sanitation has to also address structural discrimination and the specific needs of women regarding harmful gender stereotypes, social norms. So please to take this into account, this twin track approach. The time is now. Last month, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 76-300 on the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. It's a historic resolution and an expression at the highest level of the political commitment to a healthy environment, which is the foundation of many human rights, including water. The lives and the livelihoods of all people and the health of the planet are at serious risk due to the current crisis and the environment stressors that most of you have identified. So the current moment really commits us to forge new and more groundbreaking steps to collaborate and to ensure the protection of human rights and the rights to water and sanitation. So I warmly invite you and encourage you to join the Call for Action initiative and to accelerate gender equality progress in the water domain. So to counter the setbacks in the progress we have made, our collective efforts and the support of all partners is really imperative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we made it on time. So I thank you all, invite you to join. And Michela, if you want to say goodbye and to close the session, please, you are.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for the rich contributions, and we couldn't finish better with the Arumi's words. Thank you very much for the conclusions, and have a good World Water Week, and see you soon join us at the Call for Action initiative. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Switch on the camera that we make a picture. Switch on, switch on. Okay, please. Yes, Maria, switch on your camera. Neil.
Seems they are not closing us, so thank you, and our apologies for having run so quickly.
All right, let's start taking pictures. Please. All right. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.